Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I know that if you criticize certain groups, you could be labeled anti-Semitic, or you can be labeled racist. But what happens when you criticize Ukraine? What will you be called? What's the term now? You can't say, anti-Ukrainian, because that's already taken. You can't. Xenophobic, you can't, because that's too general. You can be xenophobic against the Russians too. So you got to find a term that really qualifies or accepts only the Ukrainians. And why am I saying this? Today I posted a video, I made a video with I think a very, very important study, report made by, not study, because it was, I think, an investigation, and is from the Amnesty International. And they found that various things that I predicted they happen, and I asked questions. And those were the questions, some of the questions I asked was, how come that the Ukrainian army is almost always fighting in the cities or shooting back? Why is it that the Russians are blamed and accused of killing, residential areas and blowing up kindergarten and schools and hospitals? I said, because that's what the Ukrainians said. And I said, they can't be so stupid to just hit those by mistake. And why would they hit that? They create problems for their own, What's the purpose? All the other guys are lying. Well, Amnesty International found, checking a few oblasts in Ukraine, that out of 29 schools, I think it was 22, had Ukrainian personnel in it and arms in it, in the cities. So when you watch some videos or you watch some, you read some articles saying that Russians bombarded again or struck a kindergarten or a school or a hospital. It's awful, but 22 out of 29, that's more than 60%, were or could have been and were, based on the Amnesty International, where Ukrainians have army and they have arms, weapons in there. Now, that's one thing. The other thing that Amnesty International claims is that the Ukrainians positioned their defenses around civilians without telling the civilians to get out of there first. And a second, they positioned their armies in the cities where they could have positioned them in other areas with wooden areas or different locations where they would have been as protected as in a city, let's say. So Amnesty International makes the claim that actually the Ukrainians picked those places so they can't be hit. And if they're hit, they can claim that the Russians are hitting, as they claimed all the time, residential areas, which certainly they do. Now, why they do? Maybe for this reason, maybe because they're criminals, maybe they make mistakes. What other option is? I don't think there's any other. So even you're stupid and you miss the point, you miss the target. Second, you want to destroy those points, and you want to destroy those points because you know that the military is at those points and they have weapons and ammunition in those points. What other option is there? So I posted this video and I had a few Ukrainians being Kuleba and another guy, I can't remember his name, from the Ukrainian leadership, being very upset with Amnesty International, did not bring counter arguments against the findings. Instead, they called those guys names, like they usually do. If they can't beat you intellectually or argumentatively bringing evidence, they will call you names. That's exactly what those guys did. They didn't bother to go to the issue and say, okay, what do you mean? Let's look at them. Let's see. That's not true because this is, let's bring counter. No, he said, no, those are Russian paid whatever. If it's about money, I think the Americans have more money than the Russians to outbid them with Amnesty International. But all of a sudden, if you criticize Ukraine, they call you names and you must be a Hitler or a Putin apologist or something like that, which sometimes some people are, but not all the time. With these guys is always and all the time. You know, you can fool some people sometime, but you can fool all the people all the time. Remember Lincoln? The same here. These guys pretend that everybody has to think the same way they want them to think and give them whatever they ask. And if you don't, then you are that and that and that. Bad words. Now we have another weasel here. And this is a weasel. And as I said, I suspect very much that this person is a Zelensky and this person is a Shmihal. Nothing wrong with that, but it's very weird. In a country of Ukrainians, you have in the top positions 3 people from a different group than the Ukrainian group. However you want to take it, right? So we have Reznikov. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from August 4th, 2022. Reznikov on Amnesty International. Attempts to question Ukrainians' right to resist genocide are a perversion. First, there's no genocide what occurs over there, and the second one, even if you are threatened with genocide, doesn't mean that you have to do more than that. And how do you resist genocide when you expose your population to more genocide? Reznikov, come on, bring me your Torah or bring me your Talmud and explain that to me using those teachings. Why don't you? How do you resist genocide when you place your forces around your own people? Don't you invite more genocide, you weasel? But logic is not a friend of Torah, all right? Remember, logic is an ancient Greek invention. They terrorized it, they made it, they created, they said, okay, this is transitivity, and 1 plus 1, this is equal with this, and this is equal with this, that results that this is equal with this, and all that. They did it, they wrote it, they carved it, all right? It was not in the Middle East, no, it was in ancient Greek. That's how it started. That's how they started first, questioning the gods. Not in the Middle East, but in ancient Greece. So let's go and see how this guy reasons. He was in this civilization. He should know how to argue, right? And use logic and evidence and make arguments based on the facts and so on. Oleksiy Reznikov, the Minister of Defense, Prime Minister and President. I couldn't find, maybe someone can send me information on this Reznikov, because what I found is parallel with the information that I'm looking at. So the Minister of Defense of Ukraine believes that the Amnesty International report shows that the organization has lost common sense. Okay, that's the first attack. Okay, now you have to bring arguments to say you lost common sense, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this is what happened or this is what not happened. I will challenge your findings by bringing counter-arguments, evidence-based arguments. And any attempt to justify the genocide of Ukrainians and call the right to resist it into question, just to raise a question, you can't question it. You can't. If you question it, we're going to stone you to death. Remember? That's how it is. So you can't have free speech. That's a Western thing. Remember those guys, Zimbabweans from across Atlantic? They started with the free speech in their constitution. No one else. They were the ones. They had in the constitution. See if Germany has free speech in the constitution. See if France has free speech in the constitution. Or Great Britain, or Great Britain doesn't have a constitution. Let's start with that, right? It has common law or something. It's just different. But just saying. All right, let's move on here. I didn't say that to hurt anybody's feelings here. I'm just saying that it came from these guys, the United States. Those guys, the slave owners, the white slave owners, they had some enlightenment in their little heads over there. And you can't question the right. You have no right. First, this is a genocide. What do you mean? If I question what you call, I'm going to bring counter-arguments. Will that qualify? No. That's tyranny of thought, of expression, or speech. Quote, from Reznikov. Any attempt to call into question Ukrainians' right to resist genocide, to defend their families and home, to defend their lives and those of their children, this pathos is not, it's pathos, and to resist the actions of the Russia as a terrorist state are a perversion, no matter what legal constructions they are dressed up in. So it doesn't matter how you build that case, legal constructions. It doesn't matter. Pathos, the feelings, should trump, not Donald Trump, trump the mental, the logic, all that. Well, I disagree with that, Mr. Alexei Reznikov. Any attempt to equate the unprovoked Russian aggression. Some people might have questions regarding unprovoked. You just take it and take it to the bank, and that could be just denied, the transaction. Some people might say, well, actually it was provoked. You were committing genocide in the eastern part of Ukraine, killing the Russian-speaking population. What about, isn't it a genocide? No, only this is genocide. Why? Because we say so. That's how it goes, right? Right. It says, any attempts, to equate the unprovoked Russian aggression with the Ukrainian defense, even in passing. So, even, hey, honey, I think so. All right? As was done in the Amnesty International report, are evidence. So that's evidence. If you just, in passing, try to equate that the organization has lost common sense and is trying to ruin its own authority. Where's the counter-argument, Reznikov? So Reznikov, I'm telling you here, he didn't bring any counter-arguments here. All right. Now he's going to all kind of things with Russians have done that, Russians have done that, and that's a genocide. Well, as I said, if you care for the safety or your people, or the Ukrainians, not your people, Ukrainians or whatever they are, I'm going to consider them, of Ukrainians, why do you put your armies around them? Why do you expose them? Well, just watch that video. I explain over there much deeper the article that was presented and what the Amnesty International found in their report. So I'm not going to go deeper than this. I just wanted to show you how these guys are arguing, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, bringing counter arguments. The same thing these guys, weasels in the United States, if you try to challenge their perversions, you're called this, you're called that, without contrary. They don't argue with arguments, with scientific evidence or factual evidence. No. You have to shut up and keep quiet, because we're going to continue our march to our liking, to our goals. That's why I'm here. That's why you're here. That's why we are doing this. We are not going to shut up. They want us, and little by little they try, because you can't speak everything you want here. You can do a lot of things in certain places, but that's the way it is with Reznikov. No arguments, no logical, no, just pathos. You are this, you are this, you are this. Okay, why am I this? Bring the evidence. I don't need to. And did you hear the legal connections or whatever have nothing? You can't even challenge a little bit the how do you call it, the mantra. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.